Hey guys, welcome back. It's your favorite Gimp of the Limp, and I have someone joining me.
Two someones,
yes.
Hi,
The babies.
Gimpy's gal and the littlest Gimpy.
Yes, baby Gimpy.
No, we have baby Gimpy. We have to name all of our kids, but so right now she's the littlest Gimpy.
She's littlest Gimpy. Yes.
The littlest Gimpy that could, right?
She is joining
us.
Kennedy. For this little gripe session. We have jammed ourselves in my tiny little filming office.
Well, our kids are
having
screens.
a snack so we can have a quiet moment. And this is going to be a gripe session. Oh yeah, because I can't let this article be out there and not have it be addressed, not have it be countermanded, because it's garbage. And I know many of you agree and feel the same way, that it's just horse crap.
And I'm equally as frustrated by it. And it's not the first
thing I've seen out something like that once a year or so.
Yeah, but this time, I read the article. Normally I don't read them. I'll just kind of let him fill me in. But I read this one. I just heard about it.
And I'm pulling up the article.
So this is not the first time that he has brought this to my attention, because if you guys have seen me before, I'm not necessarily in the genre. I'm kind of on the outskirts of it. But obviously I'm married to someone who's been in it for a while. So he fills me in on things sometimes, or just vents to me about things. So this isn't the first time this specific topic has been broached. And it's not the first time that I've spoke on it. I made a video, we made a video back right after his channel first started. We were living in our old house, where I talked about how I felt I had been treated. That article was more about women being sexualized or something. Remember, being harassed. This one is not the same, but it's in the same family basically. And I talked about it then. But yeah, I read it. And right away, the title, it just says, the title says, a combination of a high barrier to entry and outdated misogynistic attitudes keep women out of a hobby where they could thrive. And that right there pissed me off, because they're basically saying...
Sorry if you hear something. Every time I go to record, that's when my neighbors have to work on their lawns. Every single time.
Yeah, just ignore it. It probably doesn't bother them as much as it bothers us.
Drives me nuts.
But anyways, when they try to say oh, it's outdated and misogynistic, and they're saying it about a hobby simply because there's not an equal amount of men and women in it, it's ridiculous. There just is no way to blame the people in a hobby for the people who aren't in the hobby, when those people aren't in the hobby because they're choosing not to be. That's just not what they're interested in. I'm a woman. If I wanted to go to the WBC and sit down at any of those tables and play with them, they would have been like, please, we would love to have more women. Please sit down. There's not enough women that want to play these games or that are interested in it, so please.
All right, so we had to adjust. Bear with us. You guys who have children know how it is. But yeah, we just wanted to adjust this really quick, and there's a few main points with it that just drive us nuts. So I went ahead and pulled up the article. You guys can find it on Wired. The name of it's Why Are There So Few Women in Wargaming?
There's so few women in wargaming because a lot of women aren't interested in that. There's your answer right there. You didn't need an article.
Yeah, well, they make it out like there's this barrier, right? That there is a bar somewhere that is preventing people from entering, and they mean things like the cost. Okay, well, the cost is expensive, but it's expensive for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's not a barrier to a specific gender or race.
As a reason why the hobby is already small, but that right there is exactly why there's fewer women. It's already a small hobby because it is very expensive. So you can't use that and say it's so expensive, and that's why women don't do it. But no, it's not. It's because they're misogynistic. They're just trying to make something malicious that is not malicious.
Yeah. One of the key things that I wanted to point out, and I want you guys to help me flesh this one out and explain to me how this thought process works for guys like Luke here, who just stinks of racism and sexism. The stuff that he says that he's fighting, and he's in no way doing that. He's actually being worse, because he says a way to make the hobby more inclusive is by having events that exclude white guys.
He doesn't say that verbatim, but he basically says...
But that's the gist of what he's saying.
That's the problem with the hobby, is that it's a bunch of, quote, boomers. No. It's a bunch of 50-something white guys, and there needs to be more groups that are geared towards women or racial minorities. So yes, he's essentially saying there should be more that exclude the white guys, but he doesn't say verbatim those words.
But it's his goal. I'm looking for where it is, but his goal is saying that a way to bring in more people is to have events that specifically exclude those people. Like, okay, how does that in any way make a gaming hobby more inclusive by excluding certain people based on race and gender? Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind?
I will say, from a woman's standpoint, if there was more like a group that was like, hey, we're going to have a night for any women that want to come out and learn how to play this game. You know, this is a night for you to come out and learn. Yeah, that would be nice. And there are those nights and those things exist, but it's not about excluding the people that are in the hobby. Like, I wouldn't go to it if they said, you can't come if you're a white man. You could only come play if you're a woman or if you're a minority. Like, I wouldn't want to go to that. But it would be nice. It's nice to have groups that are geared towards people who aren't already in the hobby to get their foot in the door with the hobby. That's fine, but it's not about race or gender or whatever. It's just about new people who want to learn the hobby. Come and learn the hobby. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you do. Just come learn the hobby.
I've made this point numerous times. I have never been to one game store that has any shelf blocked off that says only guys can buy from this shelf. Like, ever. You guys ever seen a store?
And I've never been to a game store where I wasn't let in because I'm a woman, or where when I come in, they're like, excuse me, what are you doing here, honey? Or, I'm sorry, you here with your husband or with your father? Because that was a point they kept making in the article, was they were tired of being mistaken for a girlfriend or a wife or a daughter of someone, instead of just being there as part of the hobby. And she said, basically, that was misogynistic. Okay, well, somebody making a mistake that is based on experience, which is that these things don't normally have a ton of women around them, is not misogynistic. It just means they made a mistake. And she doesn't, like you pointed out, she doesn't say what happened after she corrected them. Because what probably happened, and this is just me
spitballing,
is they probably said, oh, my apologies, I just assumed because not many women are into this, hobby, but cool, awesome, what do you play? That's probably what happened.
Yeah. Now, we're not saying that there aren't the occasional D-bag out there that would be rude and think, okay, no, this is my guy hobby, so women aren't allowed. Of course, there are people like that. There are women out there that think this is a woman's hobby and men shouldn't be allowed. Sorry, I had to break there for a sec to fix a problem. But, I'm tired of seeing these articles coming out, and they're always trying to paint the hobby in general in a bad light. Like, that it's full of bad people who are sexist or racist. They even have race jammed in here like it's some kind of issue. They're always attacking it, but they always do it to any hobby that has predominantly got white guys in it. And I was talking to her earlier about it. We think about the movie 8 Mile, right? And the whole rap battle scene, really cool, Eminem, rapping. But a big theme of the movie is the fact that he's the white guy, and they're always kind of attacking him because he's the only white guy that's up there doing the rap battles. Well, they do that stuff in real life. I'm sure they have rap battle areas, and it's way predominantly black guys who are doing it. So how come there aren't articles about them being more inclusive and they don't have enough women or they don't have enough white guys?
Yeah, they're acting like all the other, it even says in here, like, when is Wargaming going to catch up to all the other tabletop games? I'm sorry, all tabletop games are not universally gender equal or race equal. Like, they all have their, maybe some have more women than others, but none of them are predominantly women or are equal. And they're just singling out Wargaming like it specifically is way behind in times because, again, this is a quote from the article, it's just a bunch of boomers that are in their 50s that are used to playing the games away from the family. So they don't want women to be involved in it. They just want it to be a men thing. It just, I don't know. For me, it's that they are trying to make something malicious that's just the way that it is. Like the example he's giving, Eminem in the movie is made fun of and picked on because he's a white guy trying to rap. But it also would be like that for any newcomer to that genre. Like most of the people in the world don't care about race. So their example is that they
care about race. race and
Well,
gender.
this
Like,
person
that's
does,
what matters
yes.
to them.
This guy writing the article was saying them as, you can't say that because it makes it sound like you're saying Wargamers care
No,
about race.
I mean the guy
that wrote the article cares about race, and then you lose my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were talking about Eminem newcomers to.
Oh, they make it sound like it's only women that feel intimidated coming into this genre. But I would say that's probably not the case. I would say for anyone coming into something that's this in-depth, that costs this much money, takes this much time, and that is this small of a group and a close group, would feel intimidated. Whether you were a woman, a man, trans, black, white, yellow, green, you would feel a little intimidated because it's a lot of information and it's a, well,
it's not just that. It's any hobby.
Yeah,
right?
any hobby you're going to...
Because you got to put yourself
out
out
in the door is going to be intimidating.
Right? When I got into X-Wing, I had to go up to a table of people that I did not know and introduce myself and say, hey, I'm interested in X-Wing. I would like to get started. Do you mind if I watch you guys? And they welcomed me in. They gave me some cards.
And it was intimidating for you. I'm sure that wasn't your favorite moment.
No.
But you have to
because it's just like asking a broad out. I could get turned down. She could say no.
It's like we were talking about it. I'm not very extroverted. I'm an introvert. Both of us really thrived in quarantine because we didn't have to socialize. But we like being home. We like being with each other. And it's hard for us to put ourselves out in social situations and like be in big groups of people. That's hard. So when there's things that happen in our neighborhood where there's been parties or get-togethers or people go out and do things, we're not usually the people who do that. And so a lot of times we don't get included or invited because they know that more than likely we wouldn't go anyway. But that isn't their fault. That's our fault. We didn't extend ourselves. So it's like blaming Wargaming because not enough women want to play. So you want to force women to play? It's like what were you talking about? Saying there's not enough women in STEM jobs. Like, what? You can't.
The people you see complaining more often than not, you'll see some article written by a woman who's complaining about all these women who are kept out of STEM fields. But then when you ask her, what did you study in college? And she has some sociology degree that is predominantly women in sociology.
Or women's studies, which is... pretty much predominantly women.
So you got a degree in a predominantly female field, but then you attack the male field for not having enough women in it. You could have gone.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go join the hobby?
It's just about attacking a specific group of people.
And I don't think this guy has ever played a war game because the article is written in a very abstract manner and
it was
very distant.
Yeah, it wasn't
the
easy.
specifics are all names that you can quickly find on the internet. And when you talk about wargaming is such a large field. I don't even think this dude understands that there's wargaming besides
made it sound like there's
40K.
Yeah, he made it sound like there's literally like two main war games that are played. And that's it. Like it did. I was hard to read anyway because he wrote very like pretentious. His writing was very.
Well, it's like a pretentious fifth grader, right?
Yes. But
the dude wouldn't know what a counter is.
Yeah.
Right. He wouldn't know what the charge, the player age you're talking about.
Literally, part of his argument is one of these women that I guess he interviewed said she was mistaken as someone's wife or daughter. And that she just got so sick of having to explain that she wasn't someone's wife or daughter. So she just started lying and saying that she was to make it simpler. And it's like, but that doesn't mean that the men who made that mistake were misogynistic. Yeah. That's our point. Our point isn't that misogyny doesn't exist in wargaming or that racists don't exist in wargaming. There are racist and misogynist and just in general buttholes that exist.
Racist and sexist and wired.
That exist everywhere, and everything you do there is a bad apple. But labeling an article wargaming as misogynistic, that's damaging and that's defamation because it isn't true.
Yeah, and how are you going to bring more people in? How are you going to bring more people in? Okay, we want more women in this hobby, but I'm going to write article after article after article telling all women how horrible it is. Yeah, you're not doing anything. You're not trying to bring women in. You should be writing an article talking about how tabletop gaming has grown a lot, especially since the COOF, and a lot more people are getting into it. A bigger, diverse crowd is taking an interest. Take a look at wargaming. There still aren't a whole lot of women in. There are these things that can be offered. You learn a lot about history. So if you're interested in history, as a woman, you should go check it out. Your interest, right?
Well,
You encourage people, show some positivity.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be a gender thing. Like you've said this, like it shouldn't even be about like if you're a woman. It should just be if you're a human who enjoys history and wants to learn how to play a war game, go check it out.
Yeah.
Go to a local game store, find out if they have a night, find out if they have a beginner's group, because most of them probably have something.
Well, they used to until things got closed down.
But to me, this is what it feels like. And again, I would consider myself an outsider or an outlier. But I feel like it's an attack on something just because they just don't want this specific group of people to have anything that's predominantly an interest of theirs. It can't be. We have to infiltrate everything. We have to take everything from them because they are entitled and they're part of the patriarchy and they're misogynistic and they're racist, and we have to not let them have anything at all. No. But really, it isn't their fault. It's like NASCAR. NASCAR is what? 99.9% fat white dudes.
Have you ever noticed when you say NASCAR?
I have to say NASCAR.
Your Southern comes
yeah.
NASCAR?
The point is, most people who watch NASCAR are white. Most people who play sports are one race or the other. I'm going to sound like a racist. Is that why you're laughing?
No, I'm thinking back to the guy I served with. The dude was black as night. I mean, the blackest black guy you've ever seen. And I love this guy, but he was the most redneck black guy you'd ever seen. When we were out of uniform, he'd walk around in Wranglers, boots, button-up flannel, got his cowboy hat.
So you can't ever judge a book by its cover. Race truly doesn't matter.
Oh, he loved NASCAR. He talked about NASCAR all the time.
But the point is, it's not NASCAR's fault of who their fan base is. It isn't Unique's fault, that's the makeup company I used to sell for, who buys their products or who sells their products. It's not Walmart's fault that trailer trash typically shops there. And we do too.
The people of Walmart.
But yeah, it's not, you can't blame something because people of a certain demographic are interested in that. Like, just like majors in college, you can complain all you want and say there's not enough women who go into the sciences. Okay, but that's not the science's fault. It's not the subject or the field's fault for trying to keep women out. It just means that women and men, the two genders that exist, which is men and women, which is what you're born with at birth, is what gender you are. They have different brains and chemistries, and their brains have different function or different interests and different strengths and weaknesses, and that's what they go towards in their hobbies. And it just is what it is.
Don't let people, my whole point with this, and I think she would agree with me, is don't let people make any hobby, not just this one, your hobby, whatever else you're into, doesn't matter. Don't let them bring race and sex and any immutable characteristic into it. Because it doesn't matter, right? If you want the world to be a more welcoming and inclusive place, and you really mean that, then stop trying to divide it along racial lines, sexual lines, who you sleep with lines. Stop that.
It's like, what's his name?
No.
Morgan Freeman, is he the one who said it?
Yeah.
He was in an interview and someone asked him, well, how do you think that we end racism in this country? He's like, you're going to stop calling me a black man and I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah. Right there.
And that's the same
and
thing.
And then he got another little freckle.
Has freckles of wisdom.
Yeah.
But basically the point that I was trying to make, like he said, is just, I don't think it's right for them to take this hobby and demonize it, make it sound like that it's a malicious reason why it is predominantly what it is. It has nothing to do with anything other than that's just who's interested. That's the choice they made, the hobby they chose. As a free American citizen, that's what they want to do with their free time. And they can't be demonized because not enough of others want to do it.
Now, I think one of the benefits, though, is that we are starting to see the hate clicks start to vanish, right? And what I mean by that is that so many of these companies like Wired and Vox and whoever else, there were game publications like Polygon and I forget the one begins with a K, that they would have a lot of articles like this attacking whatever, racism, sexism, and gaming and trying to make it sound all bad. But they noticed that the viewership in their articles and subscriptions started going way down because people got tired of it. Yeah, hate clicks might generate a little boost in revenue and viewership for a short while, but it just gets old. Like just that negative, that weight on your shoulders just starts to wear people down. They get so tired of it, and they just start tuning it out because they get tired of it. They don't want to hear it anymore. And I think we need to keep going along those lines. Anytime you see this garbage, doesn't matter what it's addressing, gaming, video gaming, movies, whatever.
Don't let it destroy your opinion on. Like, don't. Yeah. It doesn't mean that people's stories aren't, like, don't deserve to be told. If someone is treated poorly based on one of those characteristics, then yeah, they should be able to tell their story.
But that's drowned out.
Demonize the whole hobby, or it's drowned out because it's just everything now is racist or sexist, and it's just
when everything is, nothing is. Mm-hmm. So the real instances of this,
boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, they get squashed under the weight of all the rest of the garbage. If someone had that literally happen, right? So a woman goes to a Wargaming convention and some dude is like, no chicks allowed. What's the Little Rascals thing? The He-Man.
Woman haters.
Yeah. Or who remembers Married with Children? No, ma'am. National Association of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood. Now, I still remember that. Right? But if you have a dude who actually, acts that way.
A true misogynistic pig, then yes, they should be.
Yes, you call them out. By all means.
Because the hobby probably doesn't want them in it. That's not what the hobby represents.
But they're rare. They're the exception, not the rule.
I wanted to make one more argument for a specific point that was in this article when it was talking about like the intimidation factor. I don't think I touched on this, but like how it's intimidating to come into it. I think we started to talk about it, but they made it sound like it's only intimidating for women because they're women. And I don't agree with that either. I do think it's intimidating. I'm not going to say it's not. I do a lot of unboxings. If you watch the channel, I do a lot of unboxings and guesses, and I could never just sit down and figure out how to play any one of these games without a lot of help from my husband or reading and watching videos. Like, it would take a lot for me to figure out. So to sit down and say like, yeah, I'm going to play one of these games with like someone who knows what they're doing, that would be very, very intimidating. Like, that would be very intimidating, but not because I'm a woman. It's intimidating because I wouldn't know what I was doing. I'd be new. It's like if you want to join the dive team in high school, but you've never jumped in the pool before, it's going to be intimidating. Not because you're a woman, not because you're a man, not because you're this race or that race, just because it's something new that you're learning how to do and you're putting yourself out there, and that's intimidating.
Yeah, I could agree with that if someone was saying that wargaming is harder to get into because of it's difficult, and they made that point in there that there's a lot of rules to it, multiple pages, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm trying to tell some of
yeah, I get that.
Some of my friends in the neighborhood, they were looking at our game collection the other day, like, whoa, look at all these games. Like, we should have a game night. And I'm like, yeah. Thing is, these aren't really game night kind of games. I'm like, there's games,
a few.
Some of them are like hours and hours to turn. Like, some of these games people will set up and play for years because they'll get together on the weekends and play for a couple of hours, and that's what it takes them that long. Like, they didn't realize that there were games, and neither did I until he got into the hobby, that are that in-depth and that detailed and that massive and that time-consuming. So that's intimidating.
Yeah, you have to keep track of your water for your noodles if you're in Africa and you're Italian troops.
Yeah, but it's not intimidating because of any physical features on a person. It's just because it is a very in-depth, very time-consuming, very huge hobby that people put a lot of time and money and energy into, and that's intimidating.
But if you went to any convention, would you feel comfortable or feel like people would support you if you asked for help?
I feel like if I walked into if they were having it this year, if I walked into the WBC and walked up to any table, no matter where they were at in their game, now, this was another point I was going to make. If somebody comes to a game night that's had every week.
I think it's a fifth last point.
Sorry. And someone is, like, say they've been playing this game and they've been playing it for a couple of hours, and then someone walks up and is like, hey, I want to learn how to play this game. The people that are playing might be a little irritated because they're not looking to be teachers. They're looking to just enjoy playing the game. So if someone sits down and wants to learn how to play one of these games, then I could see how maybe they could feel like they weren't welcome if someone's like a little frustrated, like, I don't want to teach a game right now that's this in depth. Like, I want to just play it and not have to worry about teaching a newbie how to play it. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get
that. But it's not
from
a mean place. It's just like if you were in the middle of painting a huge portrait on a wall and someone comes like, oh, I want to learn how to do what you're doing. Well, you're not going to want to stop when you're in your groove and show them stroke by stroke what you're doing. You want to just do what you're doing.
This is the color wheel and how certain colors, contrast.
Yeah, that maybe is part of the experience these women had that made them feel like they were being spoken to in a condescending way. But again, I don't think it came from a place of misogyny. I think it came from a place of someone who really is into the hobby and wants to just enjoy it and not feel like they have to teach new people. And I think they would have acted that way whether it had been a man or a woman coming into their game night.
But to be fair, most conventions, and I'm sure those of you who've been to them, have plenty of tables set up with games that they're trying to show off that are either previews or games that just released, and they're wanting to teach people.
And yes, I would have felt welcome to make the point to sit down at any table, and they would have welcomed me in.
And I remember one specific couple that came and sat down when I was learning a game. I won't mention which game just in case they don't want to be associated with a controversial video, but it was a couple, and they both came up and they both learned the game. They were both interested in learning. It wasn't us just talking to the dude.
Yeah, they didn't ignore her and be like, you just sit there, honey, and hold his beer while we teach him how to play the game.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it is.
You sit there with your purse. No, they were both getting taught. They were both having fun with it, and it was fine. There was no gender discrimination going on with it. I'm tired of hearing it. So stand up against these articles. Don't let them keep pushing this toxicity onto the hobby and labeling all of us as bad people simply because we were born a sex or a color that they don't like.
I saw a post on Facebook the other day that Leonard made that said you wouldn't blame her, and it showed this little white girl for, what was it? Oh, you wouldn't blame her for Pearl Harbor, and it was like a really cute little Asian girl, right?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't blame her for Pearl Harbor, so why is it okay to blame her for slavery? And it showed this little white girl. Like, same thing. Like, you can't blame this entire hobby because there are going to be some jerks in there that probably do treat women less than or whatever.
Now, if it was the 1960s, 70s, 80s, somewhere around there, and someone wrote something like this, I could maybe agree with it a little bit more. I don't know. I wasn't playing them then, but I could see it maybe being a little more valid. In today's world, 40, 50 years on from that, no. There's less than no validity to this. This is simply a guy who's looking to stir up trouble and hate a hobby that he's not even a part of.
Yeah, and he didn't go out. It even says in there, well, there hasn't been like a study on this. There hasn't been like a graph taken to see how many women feel like they can't play. So he's basically saying this isn't really based on much of any fact at all. It's just, there's a couple women who gave me a similar story, so I'm going to run with it. That's what it was.
All right, we're probably going to have to cut it here because baby getting fussy. And I am surprised we've made it this long without her getting fussier than that. But I do appreciate Gimpy's gal sitting with me and going over this. I wanted her to come on so I could get another perspective into it because I'm tired of fighting this.
Not because I'm a woman, but just because I'm another person.
No, because you are my pretty woman.
I'm your pretty person.
Babe.
Gender specific.
Darling.
I mean, gender neutral.
Gender neutral.
Yeah.
All right, but you guys, obviously, feel free to put your comments below. I'm sure I'll get a bunch. And, those of you who do thumbs down, because I know there'll be a handful of you, put why. Put why you think that sex or race or other immutable characteristics matter when it comes to wargaming. Because I don't think it matters. I don't think you should judge someone based on those immutable characteristics.
In anything at all, ever, period, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. So, explain it. If you've got the cojones to put little thumbs down on it.
You should have the cojones to make a comment anyway. On all the videos that I'm in that get disliked, somebody should be able to comment down below, why are you disliking it?
Well, we found it.
Because it doesn't make any sense. I'm just telling you, hey, this is a game. If you don't like me that much that you dislike every video, then stop watching it. Otherwise, you're my biggest fan.
You were still mad about that one, aren't you? That one mean comment.
Yeah. Well, that was below the belt. That was talking about my kids. That one I did not approve of.
I banned him, so we're good. All right. Sorry, we'll stop ranting here. But yeah, feel free to put your comments down below. We do appreciate it. You guys take care. We'll see you in the next one.